Hello nieces and nephews, it's me, your Uncle Drampa. We've just hit 100 subscribers, so first of all, thank you to everyone who showed their support so far. I've only been at this for a couple of months now, and I really appreciate the support from every single one of you. But to celebrate, I wanted to look at something that we all know is going to matter again very soon. With the release of Pokemon Champions just around the corner, and with Mega Evolutions returning soon, here's my top 8 returning Mega Evolutions for competitive play. Now, some very important disclaimers here. Firstly, this is based purely off my opinion. When these Pokemon return, they could be irrelevant due to things that have been added in the last 2 generations. I'm basing this off the last time they were legal and allowed in VGC. Which brings me to my second point. I'll be ranking these Pokemon based on their ability to work in Pokemon's official competitive format, also known as VGC. This is a doubles format, so if you're expecting to see Mega Blaziken on here, I'm sorry, but he's currently preoccupied. Thirdly, I'm not ranking any of these Megas based on design. If you want me to rank all the Megas based off their designs though, just let me know down in the comments and I'll do a full list. Also, this list is only going to be of the returning Mega Pokemon. This means that there won't be any of the new Mega Pokemon released from Legends EA in this list. I will however be doing a video ranking them once we've got confirmation of their abilities in a few weeks' time. Finally, these are all non-legendary Pokemon. That means no Mega Rayquaza, Mewtwo, Primal Groudon or Kyogre, just your everyday run-of-the-mill Pokemon that have the power to destroy a small village. So no speculation, just what we know works. Let's get into it. Before we get into any official rankings, here are my honourable mentions that missed out on making it into the top 8. Firstly, we've got Mega Venusaur. It's incredibly bulky with thick fat, and can be surprisingly hard to remove if you don't have any Psychic or Flying moves on your team, as I found out in 2013 playing in the X and Y online battles. But it just didn't have the widespread threat that the other Megas on this list have. It was actually most threatening on a team alongside Mega Charizard Y, who may actually be on this list. Using its ability Chlorophyll next to Charizard Y's Sun, it could put opponents to sleep due to its boosted speed. Even on these teams though, it would sometimes be run as a second Mega, should the matchup favour it. Just wasn't quite enough to make it into the top 8 of this list. Another honourable mention is Mega Tyranitar. It was extremely powerful and had a great synergy with sand teams. This was more of a good Mega by technicality, however. It was often used as a way to reset the weather if another weather setter had switched in. Tyranitar was still really good back then, however, even in its base form, so it didn't require to run the Mega, and sometimes would actually benefit more from having a hold item over the Mega Stone. This will probably also be the case going into Pokemon Champions, which is why it just misses out on this list. Mega Gardevoir is on number 8. It was a strong special attacker with Pixelate, which turned all normal moves into fairy moves and boosted their power. Initially in X and Y, the boost was 1.3 times alongside the other 8 abilities. In Sun and Moon, however, they realised that this was too powerful and nerfed it to just 1.2 times. Hyper Voice was the weapon of choice for Gardevoir, allowing it to hit both opponents for boosted fairy type damage. But even post nerf, it remains strong. Even still, however, we need to have something at the bottom of our list, and Gardevoir does get outpaced by faster threats in modern formats. Base 100 speed is decent, or at least it was last time Megas were legal, but its frail physical defense, it's always going to struggle against faster threats, or anything with Bullet Punch. A solid start, but Gardevoir sits at our number 8 slot. In at 7, we have Mega Mawile. It gains the ability Huge Power, which doubles its attack, making it one of the hardest hitters in the game. It has decent bulk, and it also gained the Fairy type in X and Y when the Mega was introduced. This gave it one of the best typings in the game with Steel and Fairy. It also has access to Intimidate in its base form. This allows it to provide vital utility in the form of attack drops before choosing when to Mega Evolve. It also gave it the option to switch out without forcing a bad matchup. It thrived under Trick Room with its base 50 speed, and it even forced constant pressure outside of Trick Room with Sucker Punch. However, with the introduction of the Tapus, specifically Tapu Lele in Sun and Moon, and with other psychic terrain setters now in the form of Indeedee from Sword and Shield onwards, it's hard to see Mawile thriving when it returns in Pokemon Champions. It's also now going to struggle more in Trick Room as it struggles with Torkoal, which underspeeds it and hits it super effectively with its sun boosted eruptions. But the stats and the results don't lie, and players will always need to have a plan when facing Mega Mawile, so I think 7 is a fair placement for it. Now, if this list was based purely on X and Y, Mega Metagross would actually be below Mega Mawile. However, Metagross really benefited from a change that they made in Pokemon Sun and Moon, whereby Pokemon would gain the speed stat of their Mega form immediately after Mega Evolving. This wasn't the case in X and Y, and Metagross would have to play the first turn of its Mega with a speed stat from its base form, which is a big change when you're going from base 70 to base 110. But it's faster, it's bulky, and it's incredibly consistent. Metagross gained a lot of steam in 2019's competitive format, due to its great matchup into Xerneas. Being able to hit it super effectively on its weaker physical defense while also gaining a boost from Tough Claws. It really showed why Metagross was so dangerous in the first place, and just getting that speed boost on turn 1 had a massive effect on that. We've even seen since that now that Metagross has no access to its Mega, the results really haven't been there for it. Hopefully when it gains it back in Champions we can see a return to form from this behemoth. It's a very reliable pick that can fit into a lot of team compositions, it just had to come in at number 6. In at number 5 we have the little fish that could with Gyarados. Mega Gyarados undergoes a complete transformation. Gone is its 4 times weakness to Electric. Also, similarly to Mega Mawile, it can run Intimidate in its base form, allowing it to provide valuable support even if it wants to switch out. Mega Gyarados gets Mold Breaker, which is okay. It did at the time let it hit the ever-present Rotom appliances with Earthquake. We also can't forget that this is the first Mega Pokemon to ever win the World Championships. In 2014, Sajan Park won the World Championships with Mega Gyarados alongside the now infamous Pachirisu. That single result, however, is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Mega Gyarados, as it's Gyarados' only ever Worlds win, despite being almost always legal. Coming back in Champions though, I feel as though Power Creep might have had the better of Mega Gyarados. It is decently bulky and it can hit like a truck. It'll probably struggle to keep up with some of the newer Pokemon added since it was last legal. And while it does have very strong setup potential with Dragon Dance, it can't rely on setup, especially when compared to some of the other more instant threats from other Megas, let alone its poor matchup into Urshifu. But off the back of winning the World Championships alone, it had to get to number 5 on the list. Mega Charizard Y is one of the best weather setters we've ever had, and for that reason it just had to come in at number 4. But this only shows how much the top 3 have done in order to pip Charizard to the post. Charizard Y's Drought immediately activates the Sun, boosting fire moves and enabling sunny strategies for its often go-to teammate and fellow Kanto starter, Venusaur. Charizard Y was one of the easiest Pokemon to start when team building. It immediately gave you an archetype to work towards. It set its own Sun for its own power boost, it had solid spread damage with Heat Wave, which with its decent chance to burn is a good way for Charizard to support its team in another way. The Sun it set also allowed it some great coverage, as it was able to fire off single turn solar beams. There was also the timing of when it set the Sun. Mega Evolutions happen after switching, which means even if a new weather setter like Tyranitar or Politoed switched in, the weather would still immediately be shut off by Charizard once it Mega Evolved. And while it lacks the highest results of Gyarados, it defined an entire team archetype, especially in the lower power formats. And for that reason alone, it could have got even higher on the list. However, we're about to see exactly what it takes to be a top Mega. You have to be something truly special. Before we get into our top 3, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. If you're enjoying the content and want to see more like it, hit like and please consider subscribing if you're new. This channel is new, but we're looking to grow and continue making longer form videos moving forward. So thank you all again, and let's get back into the top 3. Mega Gengar is on number 3, and one thing alone could have got it here: Shadow Tag. That's all I really need to say. Mega Gengar allows an entire strategy to run on its own. It's the ultimate Perish Trap Pokemon. Historically, there have been Pokemon that get Perish Song. There are also Pokemon that get the ability Shadow Tag, preventing any non-ghost type from switching out. Entire strategies have been based around trapping your opponent on the field and setting up a Perish Song. Mega Gengar can do both as just one Pokemon. Mega Gengar also has access to Encore and Disable, 2 moves that used in combination can force an opponent to struggle, or they could be used separately in order to delay turns in the Perish Trap, alongside Protect for further stalling. All of this from a Pokemon with base 130 speed, and you can see why it's able to be so dominant in the right hands. This style is what won Wolf Glick and Mega Gengar the World Championships in 2016. It has one of the most oppressive abilities ever in competitive Pokemon, alongside all of the tools it could ever want to make it work. A very well earned bronze medal for Mega Gengar. This may surprise you, but at number 2 we've got Mega Kangaskhan. And why should this surprise you? Because this was single-handedly one of the most dominant Pokemon from day 1 in Pokemon X and Y. If you weren't prepared for Mega Kang, you were falling behind. But this in a way is kind of what held Mega Kang back. Not only on this list, Kangaskhan was part of the team archetype known only as Big Six. Primal Groudon, Xerneas, Smeargle, Mega Kang, a Pokemon that might be number 1 on this list, and Talonflame. Although it was the Talonflame slot that would most often get changed if there was any tweaks or variations for a tournament. There were also other variations that involved Mega Kangaskhan such as Chalk in non-restricted formats prior to 2016, but this is most certainly what held Kang back. Anyone and everyone who wanted to do well at a tournament would have to prepare for Mega Kangaskhan. The best teams were often the ones that would counter Big Six perfectly. That was exactly what Wolf Glick did in 2016 with Mega Gengar, and that team went on to win Worlds. Every single Pokemon on that team was an answer to Big Six. Big Six remained successful in every other tournament in 2016, winning or top cutting nearly every single event it was in. It was the most dominant any team had ever been in any competitive format ever. but Mega Kang is one of the main reasons this team was so dominant, and for that alone we really need to be prepared for its return in Pokemon Champions. Similarly to Mega Gengar, Mega Kang only won the World Championships once, but the grip hold it had over the meta game was just enough to sneak it ahead of Gengar. Speaking of grip holds, it's time to get to our number 1. In at number 1 we have Mega Salamence, the missing Pokemon from the Big Six list. This Pokemon was so broken they had to completely rework an entire chain of abilities just to counter it, and that didn't even work. That's usually a sign of complete dominance. Mega Salamence gained the ability Aerolate, an ability which, like the other 8 abilities, would change the type of normal moves but give them a 30% boost. Aerolate changed these moves into flying type moves, giving Mega Salamence the stab it had always wanted. With its fantastic stats that allow it to either be physical or special, and something that we've already seen on this list, Intimidate in its base form, Salamence was truly dominant for the years it was legal in VGC. Salamence could threaten almost anything that would become popular in a metagame. Picture this, you're facing against the Mega Salamence. It's got 145 base attack. It then clicks Double Edge, normally a normal type move with 120 base power. So far, not too bad. But Aerolate then boosts this move's power by 30%. It also changes it to a flying type move, so it's now Stab, giving it another 50% boost. What you're actually looking at is an effective 234 base power flying type attack from 145 attack stat. It's no wonder that this thing was so successful and consistent. It's also no wonder that Game Freak would decide to nerf this ability. Sorry in advance, Mega Pinsir fans. Mega Mence was so good that even after being nerfed in Sun and Moon, then having a year off as Megas weren't legal in 2017, and being part of one of the most dominant and in turn most countered team comps in history, Mega Salamence decided to come back in 2018 and win back-to-back World Championships. That's a lot of success for a dragon that's shaped like a croissant. It was because of this raw power and flexibility that allowed Mega Mence to make it to the top of our list. So these are the top 8 returning Mega Evolutions based on what we already know works, according to me, your friendly Uncle Drampa. But this is just the start. In the next video, we're going to be looking at the brand new Megas from Legends EA, once we know their abilities of course. So if you want to stay ahead of the meta, make sure you're subscribed. And once again, thank you for the 100 subscribers. See you next time, nieces and nephews.